If you're interested in a quick tutorial on a sketch with the butterfly in soft pastel and my thoughts on the Canson Velvet, this video's for you. There's been a lot of hype in the last couple of years with the Canson Velvet paper, so I've been dying to get my hands on it. My name is Heather Nelson, and if you have followed me in any previous videos, then you know I live in a little bit of an art supply desert. I have been using pastel mat, which is my all-time favorite. I have not found a paper that can hold a candle to it, but I have heard good things about the Canson Velvet. And this year I got gifted some for Christmas. So we're going to work on a full tutorial and we're going to explore the goods and the bads of this paper. I'm really excited, so let's get started. I was gifted more than one pad of the Canson Velvet, which is very exciting, and the reason that my mom was doing that was to sort of give me some more color choices. And the interesting things about the colors here is that the colors on the outside really are not close to the actual colors on the inside. So let's say this first blue is this blue, which they're not remotely close. This middle one is somewhat close. But not this first one. And then if we actually go to that next middle color, that one's a little bit closer. And then when we go to the last color, which is supposed to be this sort of like medium gray, it actually is much more like the anthracite in the pastel mat. And I really like there's like a medium gray in pastel mat, and I've only ever been able to find it in the big sheets, but they're hard for me to order in. So I was kind of hoping for this gray color, and instead we have quite this anthracite kind of color. But what I am excited about is this one. It's kind of showing an anthracite color, but actually it's very black, and it's much more black in person than what's appearing in this video because I've got the light reflecting on it. So actually this is like such a luscious black, and we're going to work on that, and I'm excited about that because I think there's some interesting work that you can do where you're like leaving the paper to come through. So I kind of want to work with like lighter colors, and that's what we're going to work with in this tutorial. I would like to add that this paper is really soft and velvety. When they call it velvet, they mean it. It's so soft. You're not going to lose your fingers blending on this kind of paper. Though in this tutorial, we're not going to blend at all. Something that I am going to miss compared to pastel mat. So pastel mat always has glassine in between the pages, and then you can use that to protect your paintings. But in this case, there is no glassine. If you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe. I do actually have a separate roll of glassine that I buy because I always find I'm short on glassine. So I'm going to have to be cracking this out every time I'm working on a project with Canson Velvet. This paper has a decent thickness to it. I think it's like a little floppier than what I'm used to, but I still think that that is fine. The back seems like it would probably be good for, you know, being a little bit waterproof too. Like it'd be okay if I was using an underpainting. This sheet is 24 by 32 centimeters. I'm just going to cut it in half today because I'm just wanting to work on kind of a small canvas, small project. And then I'll have my two pieces so I can do two different projects, which I appreciate. I have put together a selection of colors of like purples and blues, various different greens and mints. Shouldn't drop my pastels, I can tell you that. We're using a reference photo from Pixabay. It was kindly uploaded by, oh, this is a complicated name. It's like Nenny Swedzery. I'll put it up on the screen, we'll be fine. And I'm going to just kind of think about where I want things. I'm not really going to do a formal sketch, so I'm just going to kind of like come in here. I'm going to bring in my dark blue to sort of, and I like to kind of like map out where am I going to put this. So I'm just going to put this, actually I'm going to change where that was. There's going to be like the center of my flower image, and I'm even going to kind of take my Terry Ludwig eggplant and I'm going to block in that kind of like oval sort of shape that we got going on there. And I'm even going to come in with a green here. This is like my middle of the road green, and oh, that one came on there quite vibrant, a little more vibrant than what we're actually going to want. So I'm going to tone that down with this lighter color here. thinking about where flower's going to start. Just kind of put a little bit of green in to those spots as well. And these ones they're not going to show up so much, right? The Canson Velvet seems to accept different types of pigments really easily. It was easy to draw these marks so far on this paper. I'm going to bring in a little bit of this kind of medium purple color. We're probably just going to have to tone this down a little bit. Kind of just scumble in some of these little flowers here. Kind of putting this just on an angle and just kind of bringing that idea in there. It's just the idea of these flowers. Just kind of scumbling that in along there. This is going to give me a better idea of how much volume these flowers are going to take up. And I'm even going to bring in a little bit of my darker color because I find that you don't ever regret having darker foundations inside. So I'm just going to scumble that around because I felt like I didn't have enough of that. And then I even have this this is like a bit of a gray, but it could be still a little bit lighter than I want to go. And I'm just going to kind of put the very tip of it in here and just kind of drag it back, because the point is more that the suggestion of these flowers. So I'm just putting the tip, kind of dragging it in, tip and dragging it in. And I could do some other ones like that too. So just little tips. You can even kind of move your wrist around and create different little shapes and just different little volumes. We're going to bring other types of purple in for this flower as well. And we've got, this is like a grayish color. It might be a little too bright, so I'm just going to kind of put it on the outsides. And again, I'm kind of using it almost more as a pencil. Just a few areas in the middle that might be a little bit more highlight. And just kind of stabbing and dabbing a little bit here where this light is coming in. You can follow that from the picture, or just your own feeling of where you want that to go. And there's a little bit more of that from that section there. Now we also have a little bit of green in there, and you want to think about what kind of green do I want kind of showing up. And I'm just gonna like dot this around. It's not quite the green that's actually in there, but I think it's kind of interesting, so I'm going to throw it in. As the artist, you know, sometimes you can add colors that, you know, maybe aren't in there already, and that's okay. So I'm gonna add that in as my little like highlight there. One thing about a dark paper is you already have a lot of darkness in here. So I'm just throwing a little bit more right through the middle sections, but I don't need a lot. And then if I want to really come in with like, so this is a white unison, just put that in a few spots. You don't want to overpower this drawing with white, or this painting I should say, just a little. You can throw it in a few spots where the light, and I'm kind of like rolling it. This Canson paper is taking these marks really well. I can feel it gripping the pigment, and that is working out really nicely. I'm going to add a little bit of mintiness in here. One thing I'm noticing about this Canson Velvet, it's taking the color really well. So I'm appreciating that. I'm just going to put a little minty aspect in here. You'll notice I'm not blending at all. Doesn't mean that you can't blend, but I'm just not seeing the point on this project, and I think that's working out pretty nice, so I'm happy with that. Just a little bit of light that just kind of brought a little bit more into the picture. Now I think it's time that we get brave and we just get in there with this cute little butterfly. So we want to think about where he is. I've got this, this is quite a dark blue, and I'm going to think about, okay, his antennas are about there. We want a little distance because we want his little leggies in there. And I'm going to just use this blue, kind of map out where his head is and even his little body. One thing that's interesting with the black is that something like this dark blue, I'm used to it being so dark, this blue, and now it's going on and I'm like, that's not dark at all, because there's nothing on that black, but that's probably a good thing. And I'm going to bring in, this is a bit of a mintier green, and I'm just gonna woof like that. I find that the sound effects are always useful, so I'm kind of drawing this in, thinking about where I want this to go. I don't actually know what kind of pastel this is, but it's very buttery, so I'm just gonna drag it up there. And I don't see a lot of that color on the other part of the butterfly, so I'm just gonna like leave that out. And here's this sort of like dusty brown. I want a little bit of purple because I just think it'll be interesting in here. And he even has a little bit in his wings, so I'm just gonna throw that in there. Dusting that over top. I can use that a little bit in his body as well. And I even see that in like his proboscis here, but I just want a tiny little line from that. Maybe it's just a suggestion of it. Same with its legs. I'm just gonna carve those out. I'm kind of twisting the pastel to do that. And I think I'm going to need a little bit of, this is a Terry Ludwig. I'm gonna use it as my highlight for the proboscis. And the legs, just where they have a little bit of light. And then I'm going to bring that into his body. I'm just going to kind of like drag and scumble that over for a little bit of floofs. Because he does have little floofs. And he's got little bits of highlights in his wings. Not a lot here on this side. So we're just going to throw in a little bit. This is more a color now that I want to use for his other wing. And it's a little raggedy. I'm going to let some of that black just kind of come through. And he even has a little bit of that for his antenna. Like so. That'll give a sense of that. There are some lighter colors within his wings. I think I'm going to use my white, even though it's not white, but I'm going to kind of count on it blending with the mint in the back. And I'm putting it on its side. Just kind of dragging it over. You know, something nice about this paper is it's actually very good for like the texture of a butterfly wing. That like powdery kind of texture. I'm liking that. And then we need maybe like a light blue for the floofs on this little butterfly. I love the way butterflies are actually very fuzzy. So I'm scumbling it around a little bit. And might use a little bit of that on the wing. Just kind of bringing it in to add a little bit of different colors. Maybe we'll get a little more expressive now. I think I was being a little tentative there. Even with my darker green, I'm going to bring a little bit of darker green in for the body and a little bit of shadowing in here. And kind of coming out from the center. And also where his little eyes are. Could probably use a little bit of the Terry Ludwig for that eye. It's always interesting when you try to match something. I'm going to use this eggplant for these little wing markings he's got. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, this is very much a impressionistic version of this, so it does not have to be perfect. And we're just kind of dragging these around for these markings that he has. I want a little bit more blue in there just for fun. So this is a very blue Terry Ludwig. Scumble it around in his body as well. And again, it's a suggestion, so don't worry too much if your pastel goes down where you're like, I wasn't expecting it there. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. We can bring a little bit of it in here too. We don't really need so much highlight there. And a little floof under the wing. A little bit of shadow. Okay, then I can step back and just kind of look at like, what does this look like? I think I still want to add a little bit of little highlight floofs here, which I can do. I like to kind of stand back and then look at like, well, what would I want to add? And I do see there's occasionally little funky points. And on the end here, as I'm sketching, I'm just gonna add those little funky markings in. And I haven't been talking a ton about this paper, but what I would say about it is it's grabbing the pastel really well. In this particular case, I haven't been trying really any blending, but you can see here like how it would blend, like it's overlaying really nicely. And so I don't think that blending is going to be in any way an issue working on this paper. If this video was helpful for you, I have more comprehensive full tutorials as well as other sketch tutorials and other product reviews. So go ahead and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching.